I'm still Chasan. These are some of my paintings. Some years ago, one of my art professors said to me that you're not a realist, you're a colorist. And I sort of taken that to heart. This top one is a series of basically hard-edged geometric shapes. I've done a whole series of them, and I really don't know how they develop until they develop, because I find that color next to color may not work as well as it might against another color, so I do have to make changes. And sometimes I'm not happy with the shapes, so I change that also. When I first started these, I was painting right out to all four edges. Then I decided it might be a little more interesting if I left some white on the outsides. So that's, I just call that one abstract. I still don't have a title for it. But I've carried over a similar style to a more figurative solution in the painting I did of my grandson, who, as you can see, is a drummer. I thought this worked out pretty well, and I was quite happy with it. And I did that after I did the one of his brother, who plays the cello. I find that in most cases, I'm happy with the painting that I complete. If I'm not, it just goes off into a corner, and a future date I just gesso it over the whole painting and just redo it. In many cases, it ends up having a texture in it that I like very, very much. These seem to be a natural for me, reverting back to a more realistic style. This is what COVID-19 has been meaning to me. I get out in the morning and there's the newspaper. Later in the day, there's twice a week, there's mail. There's also dinner. And of course, right on the handle of the door are my masks. Otherwise, I can assure you, I would forget that they're there. The one on the post is interesting because I had it completed. It was quite a bit larger than it is now, but I wasn't happy with the way the composition looked. So it's not on canvas, it's on composition board, which I use a lot of. And I took it down to the wood shop, and we just made a new painting out of it. Just cut the sides and the top. I also have these little confettis in there, which, I don't know, I liked at the time, I'm not so sure anymore. But I've sort of given up that particular style. I recently read a book on David Park. David Park was a terrific painter, one of the Bay Area painters out in California. Died, unfortunately, very young, he was 49 years old. But he had a style that was totally different. And I thought I would try something like it, but I can't get to that style. I find that what happens is whenever I try something different, in most cases it ends up being me, okay? In terms of what comes up on the canvas or on the composition board. It's hard to escape yourself. But I was happy with this, and I like doing portraits. I haven't done too many lately. I used to do a lot of them when I was taking classes down in New Jersey. This is the most recent one, and this was interesting. As an acrylic painter, I have a palette that's a box, and in the box, it's about maybe an inch and a half deep. There is a foam pad that you wet, and then on top of that, you put a paper palette which you also wet. And what that does is it keeps the paints fluid for days, whereas if I didn't have that, I'd never be able to get a second use out of them. Anyway, one day I forgot to close the palette box, and all the paints dried, and I thought, you know what, instead of throwing out this palette, I'm gonna make use of it. So what I did is I glued it down. I added some pumice, which is sand-like texture, and then just started drawing. And it's hard for me to escape getting something figurative into my paintings. So these little shapes started to appear, and before I knew it, I had myself a painting. This is a copy of an early one that I did that's somewhat smaller, that one of my daughters owns. And I thought, I'd like to do that bigger, and I did. And it allowed me to use color, and also to get some movement, which I like to do very often, to get movement into a painting. And this is now earmarked for the other daughter. These two are really breakaways from anything that I've done before. I was inspired by a book that I have of Elizabeth Murray's paintings, and she broke away from square canvases, probably influenced by Frank Stella, and started doing irregular shapes. And I thought that'd be interesting, so I had a composition board, and again, I took it down to the wood shop and started cutting. And then going back to the hard-edged geometric shapes. And I was happy with the results. I did one that's on the second floor at the end of the hallway. That's the biggest I've ever done. It's actually in two parts. That's 52 by 38. And what I thought was interesting is one of our neighbors would pass it every day. And I don't think she was a big fan of abstract painting, but every day she would come and tell me, I saw something different in it today. And I thought, that's marvelous, because she would tell me what she saw. I never saw it, okay? But that's part of abstract painting. You come to it with your own ideas, your own experiences, and each day you see something a little different. So I've been working on these now, and I'm just pretty happy with the results of what I've got. They all are in my file. It's my folder that says Painting Favorites. Trina, do you have some questions for me?